Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. My man, Evan Peterson, loves this game more than anyone I know. I mean, he is the encyclopedia I go to often for knowledge. And even though I still hate fighting Green Goblin, and I've been fighting him for years, and you'd think I've learned, but I'm still way too close. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but you try to dex his special too, and you think you've given yourself plenty of time and plenty of distance. The next thing you know, you are wrecked. That happens to me like almost weekly. Strangely, the same thing with King Groot's special too. You think I'd be smart enough to not charge him when he has 2 bars of power, but no, I'm not. The arena AI, this is true with Kingpin too. It's often so passive that you have to, like, I don't know, bring the attack to the defender, and they just magically wake up and fire their special, and you're knocked out. Some of you out there have to know what I'm talking about. Somebody out there. So Evan has a vision for Green Goblin to be God tier. And let's see if this vision makes sense. Character class tech, basic abilities: shock, incinerate, bleed, poison, and power drain. That is a ton of basic abilities. Green Goblin's mechanics. Green Goblin's new kit allows him to melt his opponent's health bar with his damaging debuffs while keeping their power in check and inflicting several utility debuffs at the same time. Dealing with the pesky Spider-Verse hero that might evade, miss, or auto-block, Green Goblin has it covered. Wow. Now you have my attention. Strengths: Spider-Verse heroes and mutant champions. The Goblin formula lets Green Goblin handle Spider-Verse heroes and mutants with ease. Not only does he get a large damage boost, he also stops a lot of their abilities. Damage over time: Green Goblin has access to shock, incinerate, bleed, degeneration, and poison. Very few champions will be able to stand in his way. Weaknesses: debuff immune. A large chunk of Green Goblin's damage comes from debuffs, so in matchups where he cannot apply them, you will miss out on a lot of his damage. Cosmic Champions. Green Goblin's madness and cunning duration is shorter versus Cosmic Champions, which can make his damage and utility suffer. The following stats and abilities based on rank 5, level 65 5-star champion. Passive: the Goblin formula grants Green Goblin poison immunity and the following effects based on his opponent. Mutant Champions plus 15% attack and apply degen instead of bleed. Hero Champions plus 15% attack and critical damage rating per cunning passive. Spider-Verse heroes plus 15% attack and bypass, evade, miss, auto-block effects. Cosmic Champions minus 35% madness and cunning duration. Speaking of madness, Green Goblin has a 40% chance when struck or blocking an attack to gain a madness passive lasting 15 seconds. A plus 80% chance for well-timed blocks. For each madness, Green Goblin passively regenerates 6% of all damage taken over 6 seconds. Max of 60%. That's pretty big. A developer note: if you can keep enough madness passives up, Green Goblin becomes very tanky. He even regens back a portion of recoil damage for each madness. Now that is a suicide mastery friendly point by the developer, in this case, Mr. Evan himself. Cunning. When Green Goblin avoids an attack with the Dexterity Mastery, or when either champion fills a bar of power, Green Goblin gains a Cunning passive lasting 15 seconds. For each Cunning, Green Goblin gains plus 15% special attack damage, and the opponent generates minus 8% power from being struck or stuck. Max 80%. Now look, this is pretty much in the weeds, but can we just appreciate that this summoner was willing to think up all of this, put it into a Microsoft Word doc, and submit it to the channel? It is this kind of passion which even the worst of the cynics out there have to think, this is a great community. There are people here who really make it what it is, and that's why after playing this game for about 6 years, I just want to have it keep going. I don't want it to be broken. I don't want it to be a scam or a cuss scam, but I want it to be something that we look forward to still playing. And I have no apologies for that. Bag of Tricks. Pre-fight ability. Green Goblin has an arsenal full of debuffs to apply his Pumpkin Bomb. Select up to 3 to bring into the fight. For agility, increasing crit damage by 20%, reducing block proficiency by 50% for 12 seconds. Armor break, reducing armor rating by 1200 for 25 seconds. Weakness, reducing attack by 45% for 12 seconds. Disorient, reducing defensive ability accuracy by 35% for 12 seconds. Concussion, reducing ability accuracy by 50%. It's a lot of different bombs. Suppression, Wither. If less than 3 bag of tricks debuffs are selected, apply a poison debuff for each remaining selection, dealing 150% of attack over 12 seconds and reducing healing by 35%. So poison damage kind of reminds me a little bit of people like Mysterio or Diablo, the now functioning alcoholic. Bag of Tricks debuffs gain plus 50% duration for each level of special used. Developer note number 2. Choose which debuffs you bring wisely because you can only bring 3 into the fight. For example, if you need extra power control, activate Suppression and Wither. However, don't activate all 3 Bag of Tricks debuffs if you don't need them because you will be missing out on extra poison damage. Activating only 1 pre-fight means each Pumpkin Bomb will apply your selected Bag of Tricks debuff and 2 poisons. Another thing to note is that each Pumpkin Bomb during the special applies 1 of each debuff. The Special 3, for example, has 3 Pumpkin Bombs and thus applies 3 of each debuff at 100% duration. Wow, shout out to a Special 3 that's truly special. Heavy attacks, Afterburner, 100% chance to apply an Incinerate debuff, dealing 120% of attack as damage, preventing perfect block and reducing block proficiency by 50% over 4 seconds. Each Madness increases Incinerate duration by 10%. Performing an Intercept has a 100% chance to grant a precision buff, increasing critical rating by 1,860 for 8 seconds. Basic attacks, critical hits apply bleed. Oh, so he can do bleed, poison, incinerate. Eat your heart out, Black Widow Clairvoyant. Critical hits apply bleed, dealing 35% of attack over 2 seconds. Special attacks 1. Laser Blast, 100% chance to drain 10% of the opponent's max power. Also applies a shock debuff. Another one of those. Pumpkin Bomb, 100% chance to inflict 1 of each debuff selected from the pre-fight menu. Developer note, the power drain on Special 1 can get you out of some sticky situations. To maximize the damage from the Special 1, push the opponent to just over 2 bars of power before you launch it. This will allow you to drain their power meter across 2 thresholds, guaranteeing 2 shock debuffs. Make sure to stack as many cunning passives as you can to maximize shock duration. Afterburner, 100% chance to inflict an Incinerate debuff, dealing 120% attack, preventing perfect block, and reducing block efficiency by 50% over 4 seconds. For each Madness and Cunning, inflict an additional Incinerate debuff. Pumpkin Bombs, 100% chance to inflict 1 of each debuff selected from the pre-fight menu. This is where you'll find most of Green Goblin's damage. Launch it after stacking up Madness and Cunning, and watch the red numbers melt your opponent's health bar. Perform an Intercept right before launching to increase your critical rating. Now, for those of you who like to intercept, I think that's some motivation. Special 3, gain 3 Indefinite Madness and Cunning passives, inflict a power drain debuff, draining 50% of the opponent's max power over 20 seconds. Pumpkin Bombs, 100% chance to inflict 1 of each debuff selected from the pre-fight menu. Developer note, the Special 3 is most useful in longer fights and lets you keep up your Madness and Cunning passives. Signature ability, Enhanced Oscorp Weaponry. Green Goblin makes upgrades to his weaponry, granting the following. Green Goblin can select +1 Bag of Tricks debuff to apply with his Pumpkin Bombs. Special 1, Laser Blast effects can trigger through block at 50% potency. Special 2, passive unblockable. Updated synergies, Electric Supercharge with Electro, Seething Hatred with Spider-Verse heroes, Split Personality with Iron Patriot and Red Goblin, that's random. Countermeasures with Anti-Venom, Madcap with Diablo. Yeah, Diablo. Special attacks have a 70% chance to stun. Love that. So there's a lot more information, and if we read everything in this, honestly, it would probably take about 20 minutes. We're already at over 8 minutes on this. Mr. Evan Peterson, I appreciate your champion spotlight for Green Goblin. Who knows if this will ever be something we see in the game, but I think the point of this is a win-win to highlight one of our amazing community's passion for a champion that sometimes can get overlooked, even though he is far from the worst tech champion. Thanks again to this summoner for the buff submission. If you'd like to submit a buff idea that you work on for a champion that you want to see improved, hit me up on my channel. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day.